Well, thank you, Chair Hoven, and I certainly agree with you that we ought to focus on the root causes of what's causing diseases, and I've been trying for years to change the sugar subsidy system that we have that encourages sugar to be added to our food supply in so many ways. But so far, there hasn't been the political will to do that. So one of the things that I would urge you to do, Chair Hoven suggested that we would like to have you come back and talk about this. I hope that there will be more of an effort to engage Congress in the changes that you're talking about making than there was in the cuts that were made. Because again, I think there's a lot of appetite to try and look at how we do things better. But boy, there's not an appetite to have one person and a DOGE commission go around and make all these decisions without engaging Congress, because so much of that has not only been not well received, it's been outright illegal. That's not your problem, but I hope as you think about looking at the changes that we need to make to get at root causes, that you will come back and engage with us on what you're proposing, because there's a lot of expertise on this committee, and I'm sure a lot of ideas for what we ought to do better too. But I want to go back to diabetes, one of the most expensive chronic illnesses we have. It's one that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
Senator Collins and I have done a lot of work as co-chairs of the Diabetes Caucus on this. As I explained to you, for me, it's not just a policy issue, it's a personal issue. I have a granddaughter with type 1. So I know the struggles that the community has had, and many of those with the FDA before you got here, but they have been real. And one of the issues right now that I'm hearing from the diabetes community is about C-peptide, which is a marker of the body's own insulin production. It's emerging as a potentially more accurate tool for measuring how well a person's cells are functioning. However, the FDA does not currently recognize C-peptide as a validated surrogate endpoint, meaning that the community has to use other endpoints that are less, many people believe, less accurate. So will you commit to reviewing C-peptide as a validated surrogate endpoint?
I'm happy to, Senator. I love C-peptide. I'm a pancreatic specialist, and so I don't understand why it would not be recognized. It is a naturally occurring hormone that is an indicator of the physiologic health of the pancreas. So I'll take a look at that for you. Happy to.
Good. Thank you. I hope we can stay in touch on that. In the last couple of days, there have been a lot of news reports about the COVID-19 the development. So I was surprised to hear about the FDA's announcement earlier this week that would limit access to COVID-19 boosters. And it seems like the announcement would take away people's ability to make that choice on their own by limiting it to only people 65 or at high risk. So can you help us understand why that decision was made and why people who may think that that booster would be helpful to them will no longer be available?
Happy to. It's been 4 to 5 years since we've had a randomized controlled trial, and so we don't know the right number of boosters that a healthy American should take. What is that number? Is it 2, like the MMR vaccine? Is it 2 or 3, like HPV or hepatitis B? Or is it 80? Do we believe in giving 80 mRNA shots to a healthy girl born today in her average lifespan of 80 years? Is that the right answer? That has been a theory, that the repeat booster strategy in healthy individuals is the correct evidence-based strategy, but there's been no data to support it. So we are doing our job to say that if we're going to approve a COVID vaccine for younger, healthy Americans, we'd like to see some clinical trial data, given that it's a much different population from 5 years ago. There's broad, ubiquitous population-based immunity, and there's also a different virus circulating, and this is a new vaccine formulation that creates a new protein in the body. Should we blindly rubber stamp a vaccine that creates a new protein in the body every year for the rest of our lives for the next 100 years? I don't think so. And so that's why we published in the New England Journal of Medicine this week a framework for sensible COVID vaccine booster regulation in the United States that uses an age-stratified approach. And really, honestly, we are catching up with the rest of the world. Some of the rest of the world has been laughing at us using this blind strategy. We're now switching to a scientific strategy. The UK only recommends COVID boosters in people 75 years of age and high risk. France, 80 years of age and high risk. I don't think we should be pushing this on healthy 6-year-old girls without any evidence every year for the rest of their lives. And so that's why we've outlined this framework. And by the way, the vaccine manufacturers put out positive statements about the framework because I believe they like predictability.
Well, so I understand that rationale. Do you have a timetable for when you expect to have the trials done and a decision made about the future?
When the companies present trials to us, and in the case of high risk, our New England Journal paper outlines how they can seek clinical trial data after approval in high-risk populations. But it's up to the companies to present data to us. It's always been that way, where the FDA reviews clinical trial data that companies present, and we make a decision about safe and effective. We have been suspending that role for the last 4 years with COVID boosters. And so we're saying this is a reasonable time to check in and look at clinical trial data, given how different it is. By the way, America doesn't want COVID boosters.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm out of time, actually. I assume that you have you're talking to some of those companies, so you have some idea of their level of interest in coming back to do those clinical trials and what they may be thinking about in terms of a time frame.
Look, some of these companies made $100 billion in the COVID booster. They can afford to run a clinical trial, and they have time to run a clinical trial. The VRBPAC meeting meets later today to pick a strain. So there's time and there's money. We're setting a common sense framework.
Yeah, but I get that.
85% of healthcare
Are we talking about 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years? I'm just trying to get some idea so that when people call our office and ask, when I run into people and say, well, how come I can't get the COVID booster, that we can give them some kind of an answer for what they can expect.
85% of healthcare workers said no to the last COVID boosters. You're not suggesting that we blindly approve COVID boosters each year without clinical trial data.
You're not listening to me, Dr. Makary.
Is that what
I'm not asking for a blind approval. I'm saying that I understand the argument you're making. What I'm asking you is, do you have any time frame for when you think this might happen? And I'm sure you're talking to pharmaceutical companies so that they might have some idea so that we can just answer questions from the public. Part of what I'm objecting to here is that all of these decisions are being made without engaging the public, and I think that's a problem.
The public has said no to COVID boosters. 70% of the public has not gotten a COVID booster, and they don't trust us because there's no...
You're still not answering my question, though.
So the time frame...
Do you not have any idea?
The time frame is reasonable, and it is amicable to what the industry thinks they can do. And so we've had these conversations, and we do with industry. I can't share individual product conversations with the manufacturers, but they think that the time frames that we've outlined are reasonable, and we think they're reasonable.
But you still haven't said what they might be.
Well, there's plenty of time between now and the fall, and so there's plenty.
So you're looking. You think it's going to be more of a short-term timeline?
So we in the high risk group.
It's not a trick question. I'm not trying to trick you here. I'm just trying to get some answer.
And I'm not trying to not answer your question. It's just different for each age group. For young, healthy individuals, we have a different time frame from the high risk community, where we are approving the COVID. Well, I shouldn't say we are, because we haven't reviewed all the data and all the applications are not in, but for high-risk individuals, we do have a framework now by which they can run the trials after the approval in high-risk individuals throughout the COVID season, and then Americans will know it either works or doesn't work. So it's roughly a year. It's roughly a year. In Operation Warp Speed, they ran that phase 3 clinical trial over the summer, and if they want to do the same thing, there's plenty of time, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Senator Hyde-Smith.